So we're St Mary's Lutterworth PCC. So it's the organisation is part of the Lutterworth Parish Church here. But we then have a number of us employed across the organisation, and my particular role is to work with young people, so mostly between the ages of 11 and 18, but a few kind of drifting into young professionals, early 20s. And we do a range of things. Some of those are at one end of kind of faith-based work, but we also do stuff in our community, and that's particularly what we'd think would be a good opportunity to ask for some funds towards that work that we're doing. And particularly things like, so we run a summer club during the summer holidays, the idea being that it's a holiday club programme for children 5 to 11 years old, so primary school age. We keep that really cheap. So this year, for example, I think we charged, so they're 3.5-hour sessions, and we charge £6 for the session, which is probably a quarter of what you do commercially. But the point being that we can offer some kind of exciting games and things. We do sports activities, craft activities, as well as just giving parents a little bit of a break and for children to come and get to know one another. We do have quite a high take-up from areas of quite deprived young people in our area, just because it's a really good option for some cheaper childcare, but also where they know we've got a really high volunteer to child ratio, so they get some really good support, which means we can take on probably children that need a bit more support than some. We also do things in our schools. So at the moment we run some things like Christian unions for faith children, but also we run kind of sessions which are very much open access, where we support children who are I'd say the ones who join us are normally those who probably their ideal lunch or after school session or something isn't being around a lot of friends out in the playground. Actually, we have a lot of young people who have more significant educational needs, or for those who probably school is quite isolating. So sitting down with us over playing some card games or something like that at lunch actually is a really good way of distracting and offering a chance for us to chat through with them how their day's been, to kind of offer some pastoral care, which is great. And we're looking towards we've been renovating our centre, which is at the end of our kind of path at the end of the church, which is our new community centre, which is going to be used for all sorts of things like our food bank, as well as for youth and children's work. But particularly for me, that's thinking about our youth and children's work that will be going in there. Our kind of main community focus sessions are on a Thursday evening. We're running kind of youth groups for those in our community who want to come along and just have some space to meet others. Again, that does have quite a high take up of those who probably feel a bit isolated and would like somewhere where they can meet others their age. Again, we have a really high volunteer to child ratio, so we can offer a bit more support than maybe a commercial provider would be able to offer. So that's most of what we do in terms of our community outreach things here. The church very generously here pays my salary, both to do some faith-based work here, but also some community work. But we obviously have costs relating to equipment and activities and things we run, particularly our summer club. So that's normally what we're on the lookout for opportunities when some funding comes to either make those sessions a bit better, where we can invest in equipment and things like that, or where we can, all of our kind of week-to-week stuff is free here. We subsidise that completely. But when we have gifts towards things, we're also able to, for things like our summer club, bring the costs down as much as we possibly can, to make it really accessible to those who need it, by offering free places or reduced cost places to those who wouldn't normally be able to afford it.
So I'm guessing you're on quite a tight budget, really, are you?
Yes, yeah, we do run things quite a tight budget, but it's. I think it means we're able, because we have such a big team, we're able to utilise their skills. For example, our summer club this year, we had a Wild West theme. And it just meant one of our leaders, who happens to also kind of be one of our church members on Sundays, she decided she was going to make a set. So she designed lots of things. She went to Morrison's supermarket down the road and got all of their cardboard that was left over from their deliveries. And she kind of designed a set made out of cardboard. It meant for us, we could spend, £100 on materials and paints and things. But it meant it was something that a 6-year-old came in and went, wow, it's a saloon, it's the Wild West. And I think it's those sort of things where we're quite frugal with how we spend money like that. We're quite careful. But when we have the opportunity to particularly invest in things that are will last. That's quite helpful. Invest in equipment that will be used year on year or for different ones of our sessions. That's kind of where we would mostly spend our money on things like that.
Sounds great. Sounds like you're enjoying yourself as well.
It's great. It's great.
So how many people do you get coming along to these sort of sessions?
Yeah, so our summer club this year, we're growing it back after COVID. So this year we took another 20 on than the year before. So I think we had about 65 this year, primary school children, which was very busy and lovely. But probably next year we'll be looking at more like 80, 90, kind of step it up again. On our kind of teenage sessions, probably about 10 or so teenagers would come to each session. And our schools work, that varies. In some of our primary or high schools, we'll just get 2 or 3. To others, like the one I was at lunchtime today, I think we had about 25 of them coming in. We're supported by the chaplain as well of the college to run some of those. But yes, that's the sort of numbers we're working with in each session.
So I'm sort of intrigued. What got you into this?
So I've done all sorts of things in my life. When I went to university, I did all sorts of odd jobs. I was a bouncer for some bit, and did all sorts of things. I kind of felt a calling to go into to work with churches, which is why I work in kind of a faith-based role. But then kind of, I think my real pull is to work with young people, particularly kind of teenagers, and I think as well with those who would probably feel that they don't fit in very well. That's why I love on my teams. I've got some people who, will really gel with the teenager who plays football, and another one who will gel with the teenager who loves sitting and chatting over some Lego. I think my heart is for teenagers like that to feel that, they're not alone and they can be supported, whether that's through our faith-based stuff or just through our kind of community access groups. It's really good to be able to make sure teenagers are supported well. I know the world can be tough, and just being able to be put volunteers who have a similar heart for young people to be well cared for, not in a patronising way, but in a kind of coming alongside and supporting them. It's why we have good size groups. They're lovely, but we always have big ratios, because I think it's important that our young people who come along aren't just a number. The young people who come along are known by us. We know what's going on in their lives, and we can offer a bit more better support, knowing a bit of what's going on at home, a bit of what's going on at school, and can chat to them week by week about how those things are progressing, are growing. There can be quite a lot of shallow relationships at school or online where they know a lot of people, but they don't really know them well enough to sit down and say, look, this is where I'm really struggling. So for actually us to help them to grow into being able to do that, or to being the people that they can sit down and say, look, this is really hard at school, I don't know what to do about it. It's great that we can be there in those times as well as in the good times when we're running around with Nerf guns or something like that in our historic 800-year-old church building, firing Nerf guns across it. It's great. But yes, it was great to be there both in those good times and the less so.